Greetings, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Welcome back to my Valheim Hardcore series. Today, well, you're going to get a 2-for-1 deal on today's episode for a limited time only. So, before I go off on a mad sales pitch, we join the action here because I forgot to hit the record button. But the first part of this episode is just a bit of a demo on what my haulage efforts have been like over the last, well, week, really, since the stream. We managed to liberate enough iron from the crypt in the near the Bog Witch there. That was part of the stream. We did haul some of it from where we dumped it all at the Bog Witch. We did manage to haul some of it at the end of the stream to the outpost that we have down there. And from that iron, I managed to smelt up enough to make a boat. And this is the Viking Longship. And I've been using it continuously to haul stuff from up north to down here to try and save a bit of time. Now, I focused mostly on things that I couldn't get locally. So if it was, copper and tin, I didn't bring in really anything unless it was something pre-made that I needed. I got all of that stuff locally because there's a reasonably decent black forest there, and I've found a wealth of crits and tin and copper there. So much so I feel like I've barely scratched the surface to get as much as I have so far. So I haven't needed to worry about that. What I have had a problem with, at least for a while, was food, ironically. Because initially we did not have a safe like a spawn safe area. Like at the end of the stream there, we just commandeered a broken down tower basically. There was a few mods added to it, but it definitely was not spawn safe. And you're going to see that one not too far down the track here, because that's where we're going right now. I didn't really have any intention of killing this particular serpent at this time, even though I do feel like it probably is the one that killed me when I was down here on my raft very early in this series. But the revenge storyline is going to have to wait for another episode, because I didn't have anywhere that I could, nowhere safe there that I could drag him ashore. So I just speared him because I find they do still attack the boat when you do this, but I find that they tend to attack it less. And I knew I could outrun the serpent. That wasn't really a concern. It was more I just wanted to, save taking a bit of damage. So that is exactly what we've been able to do. And we can, carry on our little boat ride here. And as promised, here is the place where we basically ended the stream, complete with the Oladino inspired and implemented balcony. Shout out Oladino. Ronya and Oladino did pretty much all of the work here. I think I made a couple of extra chests, but basically this is pretty much unchanged from the end of the stream. Complete with the fact that Ronya's bed accidentally got burnt, which unfortunately means next time Ronya joins us, she is going to be back up at the other base. But look, we'll arrange transport if she ends up joining us again. For the moment, though, this is purely a transport mission. We're going to unload the boat. We're going to deal with a couple of locals. And then we're going to, get on with the whole exercise. So, yeah. That doesn't seem like a very inspiring episode, does it? Well, I did promise that there was 2 episodes as part of this 1 episode, because this episode needed more episode. Now, you might have noticed that there is quite a bit of stone that we've brought down with us. Why on earth do I need to bring stone down here when I clearly remember saying something about Black Forest being an awesome place to set up a camp because there is so much local stone available? Oh, you have no idea how much stone I've gone through in the last week. Now, this would have been the end of the episode, but as I said, that was going to be a very short and uninspired episode. So, spin on a couple of days here, and I ended up recording another session. And this is, I don't know, I can't remember when we ended the stream. I think it was about day 160 or something. So we're a huge amount of time moved forward. I have offline moved all of the iron and the other resources that we left at the Bog Witch. I moved that to that base. I did some smelting. It turns out I had enough iron to make everything that I'm wearing. Oh, yeah, there's a bit of a mess over there. That's another story I'll get to in a moment. Actually, never mind. That's the story. Because I died twice and I had one of the swamp keys on me for each of the deaths, it left me with only one swamp key left. So I had to, I had to kill the Elder again. Except I did it in a full suit of iron and it wasn't really that interesting. And I forgot to record it. So yeah, there's a lot of forgetting going on lately, but that's what happens when you get tired and you know, busy at work and all that other good stuff. Now, as the title at the top of the screen says, this is how not to do a serpent kill. It all looks good on paper. I'm heading towards a meadows, which I visited before, so I know I'm going somewhere safe. You know, this looks like a pretty good plan. Now, if you're playing multiplayer, what I'm about to do works great, because while you're busy dragging the serpent up the beach, you can have your friends wailing on the serpent and you can kill it that way. Now, the whole reason for doing it this way is so that you don't lose the scales. Because the scales are heavier than water, and if you kill a serpent out in the middle of the ocean, the scales and the trophy, assuming it drops a trophy, will sink to the bottom of the ocean and you'll never get them back. The meat always floats to the surface, but look, I want scales because I want a serpent scale shield. It is just biblically good at this level of the game. In fact, to go into the mountains without, like with this combat difficulty, to go into the mountains without a serpent scale shield is, I won't say doomed to fail, but it's definitely going to add a layer of difficulty to my efforts. And I feel like, you know, getting hunted and things like that in the mountains is going to be challenging enough without complicating things by not having something that I can, you know, have a good chance of acquiring before I get there. So, now that we've shown how not to try and do a serpent kill, we are now going to do a serpent kill the right way. And that is not much different to what we did before, except the key and important detail here is you need to wear the serpent down to the point where it's only got a snifter of health left, enough that you can stab it with the harpoon, you can drag it to the shore, you can switch weapons, you can shoot it once with a bow and it will die right there on the beach or in very shallow water where you can access all of the drops. And that is how we're going to be killing this serpent. And as you can see, this serpent was doubly dumb because he attacked me like 100 yards from my base. I mean, I'm not going to attribute a lot of intelligence points to this particular serpent. I think he may have missed the memo, but that's all right. So we get up the beach here. We've got enough stamina left, but we suck down a stamina potion anyway. and then boom, we switch weapons. We've got time to draw the arrow a bit before the harpoon releases. The whole time the serpent is stationary, and one arrow was enough to finish him. So we've got ourselves 12 serpent meat, we've got a few serpent scales, and we're almost ready to go, except I've forgotten to repair the boat. But don't worry, we will get to that in just a moment. And then we're going to head down south. Now, earlier I did mention that food was a big problem down south, and it is because we didn't have a spawn safe area. So basically, I don't like to do farming anywhere where there's any chance of, mobs getting in there and destroying the plants, because you just lose too much yield, and you got to wait, a Valheim day or two for most crops to mature. So I don't like planting crops where there's a good chance they're just going to get destroyed by something. So I had to get the base spawn safe before I could do any farming down there. And to be near a swamp like we were, and to not have access to at least, the cooked deer meat, not the cooked deer meat, the good stuff that I've been using so far, so the deer stew and, the other two foods to go with it. I mean, they are literally the bare minimum for what I want down there. And of course, I can't make those without carrots. So we were in a situation where we were only able to have foods that we actually purposely brought down with us. And of course, those foods only stack to 10. And that is, well, not ideal for cargo space. So I really only had room in each transport that I brought down. I really only had room for a couple of potions and one stack each of the foods. And of course, that was great. But as you're going to find here before too long, the amount of time and effort I went into building this base, a stack of 10 food, yeah, it didn't really go very far. So I ended up having to haul a fair bit of food down there before I got to the point where the base was safe enough to actually start growing crops. And then once I got it to that point, I was able to, get some turnips in the ground and start working on the better foods that I now have access to. Not the least of which, now that we've got serpent meat, we can cook the serpent meat, which is a really good health food. And we can make serpent stew, which is just godly in terms of food. And will see us all the way through the mountains, and indeed the early part of the plains, it is like the best health food we can get until we start getting the baked lox pies and things like that. So there's going to be a lot of serpents end up dying. Now, try not to fall over when you see what we've done here. We are literally pulling into the same spot that we pulled into earlier in this episode. But something might have changed. Now, comment down below if you're not sure what's changed. I'll do my best to point you in the right direction in terms of what small modifications I may have made to this site. But we're just going to grab a few odds and ends out of the cargo hold, and then we're going to go up into the base. So now we have a dock, and we have a bit of a ladder here, and we have a gate, and we have a base. Yep, that's right. We've got 4 smelters, we've got a wall, we've got a farm. Most importantly, I have raised and slightly leveled the terrain. I mean, this used to just be a ridge line, but I've sort of lifted it up to make it all on a similar level. But then I've raised the terrain as a wall, an earthen wall, all the way around. So inside this base, if it's got legs, it is not getting in here at all. There's just no chance. Flying stuff will be a whole other issue, but we'll deal with that when it happens. We've got a massive kitchen area. We've got a few fermenters on the go. Because potions, we've got access to a bunch of new potions, so we're spitting out the better healing meads. We've got can't remember what we need. Oh yeah, we're running low on poison meads. It's probably because I had full stacks on me when I died, and of course I lose everything when I die. So yeah, we did lose a lot of resources when I died. But I'm still sort of in the process of restocking, but I'm going to say we're getting ahead now, and it's taken me probably a solid week's worth of effort to get us to this point. Because, raids would show up, and until I got the place spawned safe, it was just a constant pain to have to deal with this sort of stuff, because once I killed the elder, it meant I was getting trolls showing up. I would also get the raids from the swamp. For the short period, it was a pretty long period, but for the time between when we just had the tower, which as I've established was not safe, to this point, essentially where the farm is at the moment, I raised that up as a separate area so that I at least had somewhere I could flee to fend off raids. And once I got to that point, that's when the construction sort of sped up a bit, because I wasn't having to run around like a crazy person, too much, and it was easier to deal with the raids. So yeah, we've got a trench on through 2 and a bit sides. We've got this earthen wall that's been raised. Trolls are basically not a problem. So we are in a really good spot now. So moving forward, I'm going to be doing a little bit more exploring. We need to gather a lot more resources from the swamp. We need a lot of blood bags because they're for food and for making healing meads. We need entrails, we need those as well. And we need to upgrade our serpent shield. Now we were able to make a level 1 serpent shield, which as you can see is a huge improvement over a level 1 iron tower shield. But I want to upgrade it, and we've run out of iron. So no prizes for guessing where I'm going to be off to in a future episode. For the moment though, we've reached the end of this episode, so if you've enjoyed it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and to consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. Until next time, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Thank you very much for watching, and make sure you have yourself an absolutely fantastic day.